welcome to Who Put This On, Season 7, Episode 42, where we watch Downeys Dream Cars, Season 1, Episode 1, and Rennervations, Season 1, Episode 1. And forget this is a $2 million car. I'm Chris Lorenz.
Y'all ever been photobombed while you're trying to have a serious conversation? This is Brian.
You may know me as an occasional actor who makes faces for cash and chicken. This is Noah Singer.
This shows the future of cars can be super exciting for petrol heads. This is CarMax.
Ooh, CarMax. Nice. I like that.
All right. So if you're your first time listening, each week we discuss a different reality show and discuss it in minute detail, figuring out if it's good or bad. And last week we watched The Big D on Max, and we had a poll on Twitter at Who Put This On, and you guys voted it a top third show. So you guys really like that show?
Ooh.
Tell us what you thought about this show on Twitter at Who Put This On. We're still on Twitter. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? So, what show did we watch this week, Noah?
Yeah, so we got two shows. So first, I'm going to start with Jeremy Renner teams up with expert builders to acquire large, decommissioned government vehicles and reimagine them as mind-blowing creations that serve kids and communities worldwide. That's Rennervations on Disney+. And then the second show, we got Robert Downey Jr. and a team of experts restore 6 classic cars from Robert's own collection to make them more eco-friendly. That is Downeys Dream Cars on Max.
Yeah, we're definitely comparing two different networks and two different Avengers with two different hobbies relating to vehicles.
This is 100% a Bugs Ant's Life situation. No, a Bug's Life Ant's situation.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So go
No
around.
strings attached, friends with benefits situation. Conversion
Armageddon, and what's that other shit movie? Anyway, which one did you think was better, Brian? Which one's better?
I thought that the Downeys Dream Cars was a little bit better.
Matt, Noah, what did you think was better?
So I have a nuanced opinion here.
Oh no, not this again.
I gave up on mine.
I like Downey's Dream Car better. I think it is made for people my age, like mid-30s, late 20s. Like, it's made more for adults. Rennervations, I didn't like as much, but I think that's made more for kids. And so I think they're both made well, but for me personally, I'd prefer Downey's Dream Cars.
Max, what do you think?
Absolutely. Hands down, Downey Dream Cars. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll be the naysayer here. I think Rennervations
What?
is a little.
Boo.
I actually kind of vote for Anarchy, but I'm going to vote for Rennervations. I think the graphics and the music really helped that show, and like
fun.
the interactions are much better, I think, than in the Downey Dream Cars. But we'll get into that. I just kind of wanted to go off the bat. If you're going to watch one of them, you can watch the one that people like more, which seems to be Downey's Dream Cars. So I don't know where to go with these shows. So Downey's Dream Cars, we'll start with that. This is what we watched first. It's Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and he has collected a bunch of cars because he's fucking rich, and he doesn't like that. At some point in his life, he had some sort of revelation. Some sort of bubble went off in his head. It was like, oh shit, the planet is going to shit. Maybe I should do something about it. And what he decided to do was turn his car collection into an eco-friendly car collection and start what did he call it? A coalition? And this was the first thing they're going to do. So they're going to start with sports cars. It's just like, what? This is the stupidest thing to do. Like,
Yep.
It's so stupid.
Would you like to talk about the coalition for like 3 minutes straight? Because that's what they do in the show.
Footprint Coalition is its name. Classic cars is a perfect start. I don't know that's the thing at all. But this episode, they had a classic Ford K10 pickup.
That's a
1970.
Chevy.
Oh, I'm glad we have a car guy here because we get so many messages. 1972 K10 pickup. They first, they're gonna. I'm changing my mind mid sentence. They take the engine out, put an electric engine in, and that's it. That's the show.
Yep. But hold on. There's like 3 other shows in this one show.
Is the stupidest thing. So they start off going on a helicopter to some army base,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, "What? What the
What's
fuck
going
is
on
this?"
here?
And then Robert Downey Jr. says, "What the fuck am I doing in a helicopter for a car show?"
Like
And then he's
record
like,
scratch. Yep, that's me,
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr.
"It's funny because they kind of both do the kind of same intro in each episode, each show." But then, Robert Downey Jr. tells you about this stupid plan he's got, and he's like, these are my guys, and whatever the guy's name is, I don't know if I wrote it down. Rich something, Rich Rebuilds.
Rich from YouTube.
Rich Benoit.
But there's another guy before we talk to that guy. I don't remember.
Chris
Oh,
Chris Mullizzi.
Dream Car Restoration is the name of the company, and he's like, that's his guy. And then, he's like, not my kind of thing. I got a guy for that. So Robert Downey Jr.'s got a guy, and that guy's got a guy that puts electric vehicle engines into old cars, and that ends up being Rich Rebuilds on YouTube. There you go. Shout out, pay us. That'd be great.
Pay us.
I gotta think that other episodes are gonna be different though, because while they brought in somebody else for this like electric car motor replacement, they have still a full crew for the garage, and they were not in play at all during this episode.
Yeah, there's Dream Car Restoration is definitely going to come back, but
maybe they do like 2 at once and just film it simultaneously.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to bring Dream Car Restoration into this at all.
Yeah.
But a lot of this show didn't make any sense to me. So eventually, we can see a little bit of the making the car, but not a whole lot. They eventually get to a point where Robert Downey Jr. is just doing other shit that has no relation to this at all. He goes to this army base. He's at this army base, obviously, and he gets some sort of test ride of the latest LSV from GM DuPont.
ISV.
ISV. I wrote ISV, but I said LSV.
Yeah, capital.
It's definitely a capital I. Yeah, so it's this electric vehicle that got sold to the government. You got to test drive it. That's been like 15 minutes on this segment.
I think it was cool though. Like, I never thought about how electric cars could be a tactical advantage, and I thought they told that story quite nicely.
They did a good sell job. They said, thermally it doesn't show up, and also it's silent. And I had never considered either of those from a military standpoint.
Exactly. It was a great sales pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't actually buy those cars, I don't think. They bought the gas-powered versions.
No. They said there was like a several $billion-dollar order.
Yeah, that was for the other car.
Yeah, I think Chris.
That was for the gas-powered one. They were like, the government bought these, and then we came out with this, and then they test drove this. They never really said if they bought any of those at all or not, to be clear. But they do have. We find out that there's some sort of climate change, thing at the army now. So I don't know. Their plan is probably just to deal with climate change, not necessarily stop climate change. But
right. But I mean, I also not ever having been in the military, only working in corporations. Of course, there's there's a team for that, right? And then, but the question is it's a team empowered, or is it just
absolutely not. They meet with Robert Downey Jr. when he wants to come to film a stupid show. That's what happens. So, we'll just go right to it. So, after they do this, they make this weird play where like, okay, the car's done, and they're like, hey, go to this GPS coordinate, and I'm just like, oh my god, the setup is terrible.
Yeah.
And they show up with this GPS coordinate, and there's like, I don't know,
It's a
whatever
military base.
military. It's the same military base,
Yep.
obviously. And Robert Downey Jr.'s that meets them with the car, and Robert Downey Jr. like secretly drives the car to this like section of the base where everyone is at, and apparently this truck is going to start like pulling like a whole Abrams tank and like 120 tons apparently, and it's like a big deal whether it can happen or not, whether it can be done or not. I don't know. The tension didn't really build up for me, to be honest. Like this didn't work for me at all.
Yeah.
And they just pull the thing and then the show's over. There's another segment we can talk about, but like, ugh, that's what I have to say.
It wasn't. I mean, it was kind of interesting because, like, they said it was rated to pull 5,000 pounds, and it's pulling 240,000 pounds, which is kind of nuts.
They said, they said the original was rated. Like, he didn't know. He just quoted that it was 5,000. They didn't know. And,
right. Like, that's still a huge difference, right? Like,
that's I mean, there's no adversity in pulling this thing, though. I've seen people pull, like, airplanes with, like, teeth or whatever. Same thing.
True.
Or, like, their junk. I'm sure that's been out there. Like, there's not a whole lot of adversity in pulling this thing. Like, you don't really need, to pull it out of a ditch or something. It's just like sitting there in neutral, and you push, like, you got to pull it.
Well, I mean, the whole point of this show is to show that like muscle cars can be electric, right? And so it's how can we show that this car is overly muscular and strong?
The point of the show is to make electric and eco cars like more manly. It's all about making them more manly.
That's what I just said, isn't it?
No.
No. Okay.
I'm just gonna let you wallow and
no.
Try and swim for your life.
That's not what you said.
Anyway, one thing I did not know about before the show was what a K10 truck was. I never heard of that. I had to look that up. Also, I didn't know what supercharged actually meant.
Oh,
I didn't look that up.
Superchargers and turbochargers are very interesting.
Oh, so supercharge I looked up. So you're bringing more air into the intake.
Yes.
So what does turbocharge mean?
It's similar. A supercharger is sort of using an external fan to force more air in, and a turbocharger actually uses the force of the exhaust as like a way to push more air into, so you can combust more gas.
Interesting. Huh.
Now you know.
You learn more in that 5 seconds than in 50 minutes of that show.
Yeah. The one thing I still don't get though, like this is like a tangent on cars. Like, why do people need these type of engines to go get groceries? Like, that's what people are doing in cars. They're going to get groceries.
Because America.
Largely, if you're getting a pickup truck or something like that, you are hauling stuff around. Like, you're hauling not just groceries in the back. Ooh. You're hauling like machines.
Absolutely,
disagree. There's literally a study that like 73% of Americans never use their pickup truck bed like at all for anything besides groceries.
That high? 73%?
Yeah, it's something crazy.
It's definitely social status among like Republican, like Southern states generally. Like for sure, 100%. Like it seems weird to spend $100K on some sort of, social statement, but when you're Robert Downey Jr., I mean, if you like cars, like I could see liking this car. Like, seems pretty cool. Seems like a pretty cool car.
Oh no, it's a cool car.
Like, would I want to drive that loud ass truck around? Absolutely not. No thanks.
But I just think that in general, like the less about pickup trucks, but more of like, why do you need such a ballin' engine Like so many cars are marketed of like so many horsepower, and I'm just like I don't get it.
It's all
Cargo
just for show.
fast.
Yeah, cargo fast. Like yeah,
You know what? Just some people are different than you. That's
Yeah.
all.
Right.
Yeah,
Some people have tiny dicks and they need to compensate. Not us.
You don't need to insult car people. Car people can be car people, but like
well,
you're not a car person. I'm not a car person. It's fine.
I
but
am a
that's
car
the thing.
person.
I do like cars, but I like more of like how they make the car more interesting to be in, not drive it.
So you want like a pool in yours, like a hot tub?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I wouldn't say no.
Like, which also touches on as we segue in between these shows.
Well, there's one segment on the last show I want to talk about briefly.
Okay, well, touch on that. Then I got this segue.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So we didn't talk about the $2.5 million car that randomly Robert Downey Jr. like gets a test drive of, and like
Yeah.
the one thing he says, it's like this. Forget that this is a $2 million car, but this could be a daily driver. Like this is great. Like this is so good. Like you have a $2.5 million car, you ain't driving that anywhere. Taking that to the track, maybe.
Yep.
No, but that was his point. Like, forget about that, and it's like, oh, like it's very enjoyable to drive.
Yeah, I just like you're just not doing it. It's worth too much money to be driving on the streets.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. That's why I said forget about that.
Yeah, that's fair. He's like, if I could go down to this is a 100K car, I'd be driving this everywhere.
Yeah,
That's what he's trying to say.
yeah.
I'm just trying to say like
I think he
I
agrees
thought
with you.
I thought it was more like it was $2.5 million car. I'm not gonna ever own this car, so it would never be my daily driver.
Oh.
But he has a Robert Downey Jr., so he might own this car.
Yeah, he would absolutely buy that, but he wouldn't use this.
But would you think he would come back for Iron Man to own that car?
Maybe if
He
he a
doesn't-
version of car.
He's doing fine. He can buy that in a heartbeat.
I know Robert Downey Jr. is getting paid like 20, 30, 40, 50 million, I think, to be Iron Man. Something like
What
that.
do you
He's
think
getting paid a lot.
his net worth is according to the Googleys?
210.
200.
Brian,
150.
300.
Damn.
Max wins.
So he could probably buy this car.
Okay. My last thing about the show is that it was pretty boring. I didn't like the show. We'll talk more about that later, but that's where it goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
To segue, these, as we talked about, these shows are brothers of each other, right? They're both Avengers, both on streaming services, both redoing cars, both have a military aspect to it. It's crazy. But the real OG, obviously, Pit My Ride, right? We're talking about
way better show.
Hot tubs in cars, pools in cars, right? Like, it's interesting to see this is where Pit My Ride has gotten to.
Boring.
Yeah, it's just we're going for practicality or usefulness versus just I'm going to put 5 PS2s in the backseat. You can't play all of them, but they're going to be there.
Yeah. And I'm curious if we'd watch Pit My Ride again, we'd think it'd be A+, or just be like, wow, this
Okay, I'll tell you the real downfall of these shows. 50 minutes. 50,
Yeah.
501 project, 50 minutes. You know what Pin My Ride had? 2 projects, 24 minutes.
Yeah.
Like we're moving, it's exciting. Like you're showing the project, showing like the end. That's what you want to see. Like it's just like fucking asinine that these shows are fine. Whatever. Make these shows. But 50 minutes? You cannot film 50 minutes for these shows. It just isn't. You're filling it with random garbage like Jeremy Renner fucking playing piano and freaking Robert Downey Jr. on a helicopter and like test driving other cars that have no relation to the thing that we're here to watch. Like it's fucking silly.
I think there's an element to like the other car thing that is reminiscent of like Top Gear. Like they'll focus on like maybe like one thing, but like they'll have all these other like side projects too. Like that's about the only thing that I can relate it to, but it was still didn't execute it well enough like Top Gear did.
It's very reminiscent of new reality shows we've been seeing. Is that they'll take like a segment from the old version of the show that was like, okay, we're gonna have two people dating in like 30 minutes with the last questions or whatever, like the dating connections or dating game, and then okay, we're gonna do it new, but it's gonna be one celebrity for a whole 30 minutes, and it's like the format just doesn't work that way.
Yep.
Like, you can't just do that. And the same thing with this. You can't just be like, well, we've RBJ, so let's it's got to be an hour long show, right? Like, no, you just can't do it. Just have two projects then. It just doesn't work.
I have to wonder, like, do they actively lose viewers because these shows are so fucking long? Would you rather have?
I absolutely checked out. I would turn this shit off for sure.
Yeah,
Max, I wonder about that, but this is made by the company that is like, we're gonna cut all these things from our streaming service just to get a tax break.
true.
Like they are hardcore not wasting money.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think about, so if Jeremy Renner or Robert Downey Jr. is fronting money, like they have producer money on the line, then obviously they could just call the shot a bit. The second thing is unclear how they're monetizing the content outside the US, right? So can this be chopped up in certain ways and then get your ad money and et cetera, et cetera?
I think he's going to advertise his charity every episode.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
I would also bet that this show might not be worldwide. This might be one of those things that's just like purely United States or North America.
Could be. Well, the Jeremy Renner show went global. Like they showed that map, right? So they have that.
Yeah, I just think that like the Rennervations, like you said, had a different audience that is more wholesome, and I think that's where you can market worldwide.
Yeah, but I think both of them you can go worldwide, right? Avengers is a global brand, right? Yep. So you're really capitalizing on that.
Well, then they got to show Iron Man at some point in this.
All right. So the one thing you mentioned, Top Gear, and like the one thing about Top Gear is that it's like half podcast, half show, because it's like they come into the studio, you guess some questions, you got some banter, some funny banter. It's like it's just like fun. It's not like these weird bits that like no one does. Like they do weird bits, but they also like, they have character and they talk to each other and they're like funny.
Yeah, they tried to mimic it and it fell flat.
I don't think they tried to mimic it at all. But I'm just saying, like, Rennervations to me had a better like kind of like comedy humor. We're having fun while we're building this bus for kids, and that seemed like a like more entertaining in that aspect to me. So let's talk about this Rennervation show, and we could go back to comparisons later if we want. But like, so Rennervations, Jeremy Renner, he comes out and they interview him, and he does the voiceover just like Robert Downey Jr. does for his show. And he's like, we're gonna make 4 buses for 4 different communities of kids, and each one will be a custom bus, or custom vehicle. They don't say bus. This one they're doing this week is like a bus, like a coach bus that they're going to convert into a music van for kids in Chicago, or a music studio for kids in Chicago. Cool. So they like cut the bus and get everything out of there. And they put in, 3 rooms. They got the studio room, they got the recording room, and they got some sort of chill vamp room. And and Jeremy Renner's like around interviewing people, like the people in Chicago, the people making the bus. He's not making the bus. He's just hanging out.
Yeah.
And then there's like 8 people making the bus. They introduce all of them, and I could care less who they are, except the one person really fucked their life up a lot by getting into some sort of accident, which we can get into. But like, they don't really have any side bits, I don't think, in this show, right?
Well, they went into like it's not terribly a side thing, but like they did like some spotlights on the kids who like take part of base, and like their lives a little bit. But it's relatively a separate story.
I think 20 minutes of the show is just people saying how hard this is going to be. It's like, oh, this is going to be so hard. Let's go check out Jeremy Renner's in-house studio, see what's going on.
Yeah.
Talk to this Eric. We're going to talk to this other guy. He's like, yeah, I got all these wires. It's like pretty much it. And he's like, oh, that's so hard. What did I sign up for? Oh my God, it's so hard. How am I going to take this thing out? It's so hard.
It's called procrastination.
Like, it's just like, oh, like, I get it. It's hard. I'm here to see you do a hard thing.
They gotta make
You
sure
didn't see that.
Jeremy knows. They gotta make sure Jeremy knows how hard it is, so they get paid. They gotta get paid.
Just like, I know we can get into this in questions, but we can get to it now. These shows would be way better as a 3-minute TikTok. Just like condense everything down 3 minutes. I'm in.
I think you can make it for different audiences, right? And you can potentially get a lot more eyeballs on this content and monetize it better if you chop it up in many different ways.
This way is the worst way to monetize it.
I think it's good for kids though. Like I'm actually looking. So interesting enough, the IMDb ratings for these shows, Rennervations has a higher IMDb rating.
I know. I
And
saw.
more votes.
What is the rating for Rennervations?
Rennervations comes in at a solid 7.0 with 391 votes. Oh,
Okay.
7.1. And Downey's Dream Cars has a 6.1 at 144 votes.
I agree with those votes, but Rennervations has been out longer, so they're not quite apples to apples in terms of one got more votes than the other. It's just like Robert Downey Jr.'s is in a weird spot, I think, with Max just launching recently, and
Did it launch? Or did it?
Max launched.
We have
They
also
got
seen
3 letters.
IMDb. We've also seen IMDb voters be terrible about voting. So
Yeah, well, I don't agree with them on those ratings, but like I could see it. When I say Max launching is like when you used to go to HBO Max, you would watch like HBO shows. But now when you go to Max, it's got a bunch of reality show stuff on it. So like,
yeah, I got you.
like it's more of a mentality shift in like this is a new thing.
Yeah,
You know?
that makes sense.
But also, it's always going to be HBO Max to me.
Yeah,
Now it's Max, the one to get HBO
How long do we think that's going to last?
forever.
God, I think Zaslav is out in like a year.
Oh yeah,
he's
I
making
mean-
people money. That's all they care about.
I don't think so. I think his strategy is pretty decent, but we could talk about that after we're done. We could also talk about some sort of Twitter situation if we want.
Twits.
Back to Rennervations.
Back to Rennervations. I also in my notes wrote this is dad jokes the show. A lot of dad jokes in this episode, which I enjoy. I thought they were pretty funny. I'm in. I'm old enough to be into the dad jokes. I think that's where I'm at.
that jokes are pretty good.
I mean, you are in dad territory. You could be a dad.
Yeah, who knows?
Whoa.
Whoa. I think Chris knows.
Is this a heard it here first tonight?
No, I'm not a dad as far as I'm aware. Yeah, so that's like I don't even have any fucking thing else to say in the show.
Vanessa Hudgens.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I literally was on the internet for the end of the show. I could not tell you what happened at the end of the show.
I mean, they get the bus complete. It's kind of it. Like, yeah, it's like okay, great. It's super cool, right? Like, but is it good content? It's okay.
People love this heartwarming shit.
Yeah. There is an audience for it. There definitely is.
The only other minutia I think we have to note that I have is that there's a woman on in the like van team, the Renault team. Was her name Mary?
Yeah.
Mary where she said she was in some sort of accident. It was in a coma for like 30 days
She's
and like was
amazing.
in a wheelchair for a long time. And like she has no short-term memory. And it seemed like most of the guys were flirting with her. That seemed to be the real interesting thing going on in the show.
Really? I thought it was more of like a just like a friendly relationship. Like she seems boss. She seems
Well,
incredible.
yeah, she's got 51st date syndrome, apparently. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about Rennervations. I got nothing. All right, should we do questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do who's the worst human being?
Well, did we want to talk about Warner Brother Discovery and David Zaslav and his strategy?
Oh yeah, I will vote for David Zaslav.
What?
All right.
Who's the worst human being?
Oh, I was like, you want to talk about something? I was like, oh, the problem is I feel like this might have been in production at HBO Max, but it's unclear. It seems like a very premium reality show, which is not Discovery Plus's MO.
Robert Downey Jr. did say fuck, which I thought was interesting. Not very TLC.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, Chris, what do you said you like his strategy? What's going on here? What do you like about it?
No, I don't. I personally, as a consumer, don't like his strategy. But like his strategy of like, okay, we're gonna build up these pillars of like 90 Day Fiance, and like parts of reality show verse that people really like. People really like watching like house shows, and crazy dating shows, and like they're cheaper to produce. You can make them all the time and you just release new ones all the time, and they're like way cheaper to make than HBO shows. I could see that as a company that would make a lot of sense to do. Now, are they going to stop making HBO shows? Are they going to be bad at making HBO shows? I don't know, but like us as consumers would rather them make really great HBO shows, and then they'd get, you would enjoy them more than the reality shows. But I think that on an enjoyment, like globally, or like, there's a lot more housewives or a lot more people just popping on, random cooking or, house hunting shows. And that's what he's thereafter. Yeah.
But do you think it's him making these calls? So
I just think you look at numbers and you're like, okay, these numbers make more money than these numbers.
Because I'm looking at, so Warner Brothers Discovery has roughly 70 different brands, like different content producing brands. Now, a lot of them are like derivative. And so what I mean by that, right? There's like Warner Brothers as a main brand. Then there's Warner Brothers Television Group, Warner Brothers Pictures, Warner Brothers Games, Warner Brothers Sports in Europe. Like, there's a lot of like things like that, but there are like legitimate like 70 different businesses if you were to consider that. So I just don't know how much he's like, like what is he doing here that gets these type of outcomes.
Oh, well, his whole thing was to merge HBO Max and Discovery so that they could pump out more cheaper reality shows to keep people invested, because Discovery Plus wasn't going anywhere. And like HBO is too expensive. They're going to cut down on HBO content, and you pump more reality shows into it. So you hope that people stay around for HBO stuff. Yeah. And like, while they're there, they might like to watch Robert Downey Jr. putz around for 50 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's a CEO, this guy named Casey, who's the CEO of HBO and Max Content. It seems like.
Yeah, I'm sure your report's right to him. Anyway, I think it's we can do another tangent about how leveraged buyouts and all these companies with massive amounts of debt that they didn't even spend they're just like somebody bought them and gave them all this debt, and then it's impossible for them to get out of, and then they declare bankruptcy. And you just look at Twitter. That's exactly what happened. Is Elon Musk borrowed a fuck ton of money, put that debt on Twitter, and now is cutting like impossible to pay that debt back. And that's going to happen to Warner Media too.
Well, it's a little bit different because Elon it depends what kind of liability he took. Like if Eon's liable, he has the money. He'll pay it. Like that's the unfortunate
All right,
part.
that's too much of a tangent right now. Let's
He can't declare.
we got to really get into the meat of this. We got to talk about drinking rules because you got to be drinking. I think to like pay attention to the show, got to have some drinking rules. So I don't know. Anytime there's a scene and the main character is not Robert Downey Jr. or Jeremy Renner, take a drink because what the fuck are we watching this for if they're not going to be at the show? Brian, you got one?
Anytime you see a car, drink.
Okay, yeah. That
I
seems the level of drunkenness you need to be.
I mean, there weren't like that
Like
many
different cars, I guess.
Different cars, yeah.
Just like they're like driving a car, they're interacting with a car, not like a car on the street.
Yeah, I feel like during Rennervations you get like one. You got the bus. No, maybe two. And then Robert Downey Jr. had like a few.
Yeah, we'd have more with RDJ. Max?
Yeah, take a drink every time you get so bummed out by watching the first show that you just look up the synopsis for Rennervations online.
Do you do that? This isn't Taskmaster, Max. You could have just said something because then we probably wouldn't have watched it. Because we were like, I don't want to watch it.
I thought it'd be funny to putz around the podcast pretending I knew something about the show. I mentioned Vanessa Hudgens.
Yeah, she's barely in the show. There was a phone call.
Yep.
That's all I remember. No, you have a reality show. You have a drinking.
Every time the military is mentioned.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yep.
One for Rennervation specifically. Anytime there's a dad joke, take a drink.
Oh, who is his bud?
Rory.
Yeah, every time Rory talks.
I feel like that was one of the best parts about the show. What I love about these shows, okay, I'm going to tell you right now, is I love the Rory and Jeremy Renner relationship. I think that was really fun. Like you clearly were friends forever, and they're like, and he's making fun of Jeremy Renner. Like, do you feel like you'd have confidence to make fun of Jeremy Renner?
Probably, I don't know. Like,
I don't know. It just seems like I got to know a guy to make some of the jokes he's making.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although, yeah, he seems like a very nice guy. Like he seems unusually nice.
You don't need to drink because something's bad. Like you can drink because it's funny or celebratory. Like,
oh no, this is less about drinking, more just like Jeremy Renner just seems like a really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing this to roast. I just thought like, oh yeah, that was a good part.
Yeah.
All right. Max, what do you love about Downey's Dream Cars?
Honestly, Robert Downey Jr. is a very charismatic guy. I know it's real low-hanging fruit, but that's the damn truth.
That's why I let you take whatever low-hanging fruit you wanted. Noah, what do you love about this show?
I like getting to see like how they actually can go about not retrofitting, but refitting these cars. I like seeing they can do some cool things. So yeah, I appreciate the pimp my ride aspects of it.
Brian, what do you love about this show?
That it feels like they're actually trying to do like good on this larger scale. Actually, look at things like holistically and see like where we're doing good in like other areas of the world.
Both of these people are attempting to do something good.
Oh yeah, I mean like Jeremy Renner's like doing something good in like a local scale. Like, hey, like let's help this like community. Like Robert Downey Jr. is like, oh yeah, like this is something that we can like look at worldwide.
Yeah. I don't think I give you Robert Downey Jr. attempted.
Yeah, I said attempting.
Okay. Just make sure we're all on the same page here. All right, who's gonna hook up next?
Mary and Robert Downey Jr.
Well, it's obviously Mary. She's the only female on the show. There was definitely, I forget who else she was flirting with. KC or KD or KJ or...
I did not write down any of the names.
Okay. I'm looking at Brian like he wrote down the names, so... All right. Is this the apex for the hosts? No. I mean, it's got to be the apex for Rory, right?
Apex for Rory, for sure.
Apex for
Like a
Rich from YouTube.
Rich from YouTube, you think so?
Yeah,
I think he's got way more views from his YouTube.
maybe.
Like, not even close. I think his YouTube show is way more popular than being a bit part in the show that no one's going to see.
It's entirely possible.
All right. So I think that's we already talked about would the show be better as a Quibi or TikTok. Did we all agree that it would be better as a TikTok?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can go with that.
I mean, a Quibi, I think quintessentially would be the great length for these, like 8 minutes. Like you can really make a really entertaining 8 minutes out of these 50 minutes. I
Yeah,
think.
I agree.
All right, so let's do some rankings. We do top, middle, bottom, third, compared to other reality shows, and some people stack rank in their stack ranks. So give me one for each show. Brian,
I think these are both middle shows. I'm gonna put Rennervations bottom middle, and then Downey's Dream Cars middle.
all right, Max, you ready?
Downey Dream Cars,
Yeah, I
middle
guess that's the only one
third,
you watched.
bottom of the middle. I will say Rennervations, bottom of the bottom. No, I'm kidding.
All right, Noah, what do you got for me?
yeah, I think they're both middle shows. For the lack of just not thinking more about that, I'm just gonna go middle, solid middle.
I completely disagree. I think both these shows are bottom. I don't think I could put them in bottom of the bottom, but they're like middle of the bottom. I think they're terrible. I think they're absolutely terrible. I think they're meandering. They're not focused. They're not showing me anything interesting. And I could not, you could not get me to watch any more of these shows.
Whoa.
They're fucking terrible.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, they were way too much. They were way too
They're
long.
just like absolutely terrible. So there you have it. I think Rennervations gets a slight bump from being funny and like being more focused. In RDJ show, just like so unfocused, do not care at all. So that's it. Tell us what you thought about this show on our poll on Twitter at Who Put This On. So we got some shout outs. We usually shout out some shows or some things we've been suggesting or not suggesting. We try to be a little more positive, I think, in this section than the last section. Brian, you have any shout outs?
Not this week. I've been checking out more of the Big D though. It's been okay as a background show. I'm enjoying seeing people actually kind of grow.
So speaking of background shows, I think I just found the ultimate background show.
Oh, what is it?
It's One Piece.
Oh, man.
One Piece is the ultimate background show. Like nothing happens in 20 minutes. So like you barely have to pay attention. So you could just it's just on and it's goofy and it's not that sincere. It's sincere. It's like a great background show. It's perfect.
Two things.
What's this One Piece though?
It's an anime.
Piece is the longest running manga.
Yeah, it's like
and
1,300 episodes. So you got like infinite background show.
Wow.
Infinite.
Chris, there's a thing called One Pace where it's a fan edit where they change the pacing to match the manga. It is significantly more watchable.
Yeah, I'm just trying to have something on while I'm working that I'm like,
Okay.
just drown it out. So seeing as a background show, it's great. I did end up finishing the Jewish matchmaking show.
Oh.
And I still really annoyed at this like Netflix matchmaking format. Like you don't get
resolve
any
anything.
conclusions on anyone on the show. Anyone.
Yeah.
Like you can't release a season of TV without a conclusion of anyone.
How's Mama's Boy?
Mama's Boy. He had a good date with somebody,
right?
and he disappeared.
Oh,
Weird.
that's weird.
Yeah. The other show I want to shout out is Silo. Silo ended, and it starts out really strong and ends pretty strong, and the middle's a little iffy, but I think binging it would be a lot better. Like you could streamline it more than week to week. So I'd recommend Silo. Max, you got any shout outs?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would recommend Silo. It was fine.
Did
The
you watch the end?
I watched the end.
Okay.
It wasn't awful. I just think there's better uses of my time. The middle was really slow. Anyway, yeah, I've started watching Barry season 1. I think I
Yeah.
mentioned this last week.
Very good show.
Finished season 1, very good. On to season 2. Just a delightful show. I do not care for SNL at all. I think Bill Hader's phenomenal. He's a great writer. He's a great actor.
Yeah. Noah, you got any shout outs?
All right. So yeah, we're watching based on a true story. It is on Peacock. It has Kaylee Cuoco. Pretty fun watch. Very easygoing. I'd recommend it. We finished a show on Prime called The Consultant. I would not recommend it. It just really doesn't have a great ending. So the payoff I don't think really gets there. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I also watched one episode of that show.
The
I
Consultant.
thought it was good. It has the same vibe as the airplane one that she was in. What's that
Kaylee
called?
Cuoco. Yeah.
The
Yeah, based on a true
airplane
story.
lady.
Yeah, flight
Yeah.
attendant.
Flight
It gave
attendant.
me a lot of flight attendant vibes. So if you like the flight attendant, I think you'd like the show. It has also the guy I think was in the flight attendant too. Seen that guy before.
Oh, is he really? Oh
Yeah.
man.
He might have been in season 2. I don't remember. Anyway, those are our recommendations and shout outs. So tell us what you thought about the show on Twitter at whobethison. You can find us on facebook.com/whobethison. You can email us questions and suggestions at whobethison@gmail.com. And I guess we can talk about what we're going to watch next week. We didn't really decide exactly, so we can decide now. Are we going to do Secret Chef or Social Currency?
No siren.
Or we could do Siren.
I wasn't a fan of Siren between those, so
Okay.
I was like, yeah, I'm out of that. But the other two are equal.
I think we should do Secret Chef. One of our listeners recommended Secret Chef, so I think we should
Yeah.
do Secret Chef.
Okay.
Let's listen to the
So-
people.
So next week, Secret Chef, season 1, episode 1. We'll see you guys there. All right. See you next time.